Hello, this is Dr. Richard Chang, and this is a invited lecture that I gave recently by the Low Carb Medicine Alliance of China, and here's the English version of it. I thought I'd like to share with you. Basically, in this short lecture, I'm going to review the COVID-19, the current status, the problems reviewed, and also what to do for individuals and for various levels of governments and institutions. Now, first of all, in just about 6 months period of time, COVID-19 has led to more than 7 million of confirmed cases of COVID-19, and more than, unfortunately, 4 million of patients died of COVID-19. And globally, $8 trillion, more than $8 trillion global economic losses, which is probably about 40% of US annual GDP, a lot. And here is a chart from WHO as of a couple of days ago, showing that the worldwide COVID-19 cases are still increasing. So COVID-19 pandemic is far from being under control. And also here are a couple of slides taken from Physicians for Informed Consent that shows the severity of COVID-19 as measured by case fatality rate, which basically that shows basically the people died of COVID-19 compared to the total number of people infected with SARS-CoV-2 virus. And if you look at this, this is mostly from the United States, from Los Angeles County, Santa Clara County, Florida, Arizona, New York City. The average case fatality rate, CFR, is about 0.26%. Keep that in mind, that's less than 1%. And if you review the similar data from past years of seasonal flu, the influenza pandemic, epidemic or pandemic, flu comes almost every year. In the 2017-18 season, the CFR is 0.14%. And the year before that, 15 to 16, it was 0.1%. And one of the major ones back in the 1957 to 1960, 24% of the population were infected at that time. The CFR case fatality rate is 0.28%. So on average, these are the serious, more severe flu cases, flu seasons. So the case fatality rate varies from 0.1 to 0.1 to 0.28%. And the COVID-19 is average right now, what the data we see is 0.26%. So it's in that same range as serious flu. And if you look at the data from 100 years ago, the Spanish flu, which roughly about 1/3 of the world's population were infected, it's about 2.25%. Okay, it's much higher. And here is a quote from Dr. Fauci, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, the chief advisor to the Trump administration on COVID-19 pandemic. In the article published in New England Journal of Medicine, he and his co-workers suggested that a case fatality rate of less than 1% suggests that the overall clinical consequences of COVID-19 may ultimately be more similar to that of severe seasonal flu. Okay, so COVID-19 appears to be just a bad flu. Okay, and the question here is that have we worldwide been overreacting? Okay, and we know it, particularly in the United States right now, and we have a lot of social disturbances and economic losses, and these bad consequences may outweigh the problems of COVID-19 per se. And so that's one problem. And another issue here I like to raise to your attention is that epidemics like COVID-19 appears to be on the rise. Okay, and here is an article by BBC back in March that it says epidemics, pandemics like the SARS, MERS, COVID-19 have increased by fourfold in the past century. And over the last 40 years, such epidemics have doubled. And another article on Wall Street that's also in March, it says here, as the title reads, global viral outbreaks like coronavirus, once rare, will become more common. Okay. And here is my summary of the list of epidemics on Wikipedia. And if you look at the data, you can see that in the 200 years of 19th and the 20th centuries, there were a total of 98 epidemics, or less than 100. Okay. But in the 20 years of this century, 21st century, there's been only 20 years. Okay. And there have been already 63 such epidemics or pandemics. Okay. So clearly, we are seeing more and more such viral epidemics and the pandemics. So it's on the rise. So the question I'm asking is, we are in the middle of COVID-19, but these epidemics will happen again in the future. Okay, hopefully we can learn some lessons from here. And the way I see it, and there are a couple of problems that how we reacted to COVID-19 revealed. Okay, so first of all, COVID-19 pandemic and its consequences spread all over the world, leaving no one untouched. Okay, and the key management, the management protocols or measures primarily include individual protections like masks and hand washing, and with social distancing, isolation, testing, and vaccine research and development. There's very little mentioning of nutrition. Okay, so here are a few problems that I can find. That first of all, lack of or insufficient focus on nutrition. So this is a total ignoring of the critical value of nutritional medicine, as first proposed by Hippocrates and more recently by the two-time Nobel winner Dr. Linus Pauling. His famous quote, "Nutrition is the medicine of tomorrow." So although a second problem here I see is that although SARS-CoV-2 is a brand new virus, which we have never seen before, we see all viruses cause diseases through some common mechanism. One of the common mechanisms is the cytokine storm, as we read and heard in the media, or in other words, increased oxidative stress. That is a major common mechanism underlying the observed clinical signs and symptoms. Okay, this probably explains why antioxidants, particularly vitamin C and other antioxidants like you may have read vitamin D, melatonin, lipoic acid, and glutathione, and many other antioxidants, why they have been shown clinical effectiveness. And one major reason is because of this suppression or the amelioration of the increased oxidative stress. And many of the clinical problems we see in COVID-19 is caused by the oxidative damage of the free radicals caused by the SARS-CoV-2. So the problem here is that I see that most physicians, scientists, and decision makers that include primarily the medical advisors, they tend to ignore this or at least not willing to accept. They try to interpret SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19 as a brand new disease. Yes, it is a new disease, and it deserves a lot of research. However, they seem to totally forget the lessons we have learned in the past of how we deal with viral diseases. Okay, and so one other, the last one here, the problem here is I see is that the global economic and social impact seems to be more serious than a COVID-19 per se. Okay, this is probably part of the again, the responsibility lies on the doctors and scientists, and particularly those scientists and doctors in leadership position. So one often things we heard about, it seems like the whole world is now waiting for the vaccines. Okay, now let's analyze the vaccine a little bit. Now, first of all, title here reads, the vaccines are of limited values. Okay, this is a reality. We don't have a vaccine for COVID-19 yet, so we don't have anything to analyze. But we can look at the influenza virus vaccines. Okay, we have learned a lot. So here is a recent review article in the Cochrane database, which is a reputed, highly respected volunteer work by many scientists and doctors, and reviewing the data in the literature and try to render a fair and just opinion. And in the recent Cochrane review, which was originated in 2013 and updated in 2016, it analyzed the 52 clinical trials of flu vaccines covering more than 80,000 healthy adults. Okay, I'm not going into the detail, but the conclusion from the authors, one of the major conclusions here is that the inactivated vaccines can reduce the proportions of healthy adults, including pregnant women who have influenza. Okay, but their impact is modest. Okay, also the authors are not certain about the effects of these vaccines on working days lost, meaning the vaccines may have some value, but not very as significant as what may have been led to believe. And also, the vaccines may not protect us from lost working days. So it doesn't really probably have an impact on the economic value. I mean, so vaccines are of limited value. And also, if you look at further the vaccines, now what are vaccines? Vaccines are research and developed of a new pathogen, for example, the SARS-CoV-2 virus. After that shows up, and then we start researching. So it takes time. So vaccine is always reactionary, and it takes time for us to study the virus or the pathogen and develop it. So for any new viral or pathogen in an epidemic like SARS-CoV-2, okay, 6 months have passed and we don't have a vaccine. And vaccines are only useful to prevent recurrence of a known pathogen or a virus, okay? And in the entire history of medicine, we have never had a vaccine that was developed, researched in a timely manner to contain the new or the first time epidemic, okay? We never had a vaccine for SARS, MERS, Marburg, or Zika. We don't have a vaccine for SARS-CoV-2, okay? So that's the reality, okay? Vaccines are necessary. However, they are not 100%. They are not the only measure we should rely on. And also they are reactive, okay? And there's always a lack of, there's a lapse between a new viral outbreak and the availability of effective and safe vaccine. Okay, that's another question, effective and safe. So on the average, probably at least 2-3 years usually are required to develop a useful vaccine. And so whether we will have a useful, effective and safe vaccine before this winter is doubtful. Okay. And lastly, also vaccines are not without harmful side effects. Okay. So, and one of the problems I mentioned earlier is that the way we look at diseases. Here is just a summary of my summary of how diseases develop. Okay. And we all know we develop diseases. Basically, the other factors. The first column, environmental. We have the microbials that include virus and bacteria, and we have the chemical toxins, heavy metals, and also we all know the abuse of antibiotics, hormones, and also the EMF. Okay, these electromagnetic waves and also radiation. These are disease-causing agents. We all know, right? Carcinogens, all these things. Okay, that's environmental, which we also know now these days. The environmental toxicity or the impact is increasing. And now personal. So personal, basically, we have two categories. One is modifiable, the other is not so modifiable. Modifiable or lifestyle. Okay, we have a positive mood, attitude, sleep, food. Basically, that's nutrition, exercise, sunshine. These things are all there to actively boost our immunity, to improve and maintain our health, and to prevent and treat the diseases. That's very important. However, our current medicine is nearly totally ignoring this aspect. And also the unmodifiable or not so easy to modify, like hereditary, the genetic diseases. Okay, there's not much we can do about genetic mutation, right? Can we? No, now, not in clinics today yet. So basically, these extrinsic, external, environmental, plus our internal personal factors, disease-causing factors, these will lead to these biological or pathological processes. Okay, some of these, for example, here I listed a few, including I just mentioned oxidative stress, or in other words, free radicals build up. These will cause oxidative damage to our biomolecules, our cells and organs. Okay, and we also know our, these factors, internal, the first two columns, will cause our gut problems, our stomach problem, intestinal, including like leaky gut. That's a mistype, is a typo there, leaky gut. Okay, nutritional imbalance and hormonal imbalance when we reach middle age, and mitochondrial dysfunction, and which is critical, and genetic mutations. Okay, these are actually processes. Okay, these processes are the results of these external and internal factors I mentioned earlier. But these processes also can act as causing agents or causes to further lead to clinical presentations like cancer, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, autoimmune disease, including our COVID-19. And we know, immunocompromised, the senior people and people with diabetes tend to have a higher mortality rate or higher death rate from COVID-19. Why? Because their immunity is compromised. Unfortunately, our current medicine nearly entirely focuses on the clinical presentations here, with little respect to the underlying mechanisms, nearly no respect to the underlying environmental and personal factors. Right? Now, for example, one good example here, we all know the vast majority of cancers are caused by the carcinogens. This is of no dispute, right? However, do you know any doctor or any hospitals that treat cancer patients? They actually search for these carcinogens or heavy metals, toxins in their body? No, except integral medicine cancer and oncologists, for example, like me. Okay, we do search for these things. Okay, so what I'm saying here in this slide is that we need to approach health and disease in a holistic, balanced, and more natural way, rather than focusing on the clinical presentations. We need to look further, look at the true causes. Okay, with that said, we will analyze the COVID-19. The problem here is the same, is that we approach, or the vast majority of physicians, medical authorities today approach COVID-19 as an independent, separate entity, which to some degree is true. It's a totally new disease. However, the underlying pathology, the processes are the same. Okay, we know. That's why we have seen, many of these natural remedies like vitamin C or these antioxidants, why they have effect. Okay, we don't, clinical trials are important. However, clinical trials are not the only way to look at the effectiveness of a treatment. Now, so here are a couple of slides which I have already reviewed from my previous lectures. For example, my NIH presentation. I'm going to go over very quickly. Anyway, So these are some of the literature review that COVID-19 key pathology is again due to increase the oxidative stress or cytokine storm. Okay, and I'm going to go over quickly. And also, I like to point out here, which I've already reviewed before, again, is that vitamin C deficiency is common in many diseases, in acute and chronic diseases, particularly in acute disease, for example, those patients in ICU. As I mentioned here, about 40% of the ICU septic patients with fever, that's nearly half of them, have severe vitamin C deficiency, approaching zero. It's diagnostic of scurvy. So vitamin C actually, COVID-19, we don't have data yet. I haven't seen much yet. However, if we measure, I'm pretty certain you will see that COVID-19 and many of the other septic patients in ICU, actually these are scurvy, secondary scurvy due to infections and other factors, okay? And the rest of these ICU septic patients have very low vitamin C levels. And about 50% of non-septic ICU patients also have low vitamin C level. Okay, low vitamin C level is correlated with more severe organ failure and increased death rate. Okay, lots of evidence like this, which we are only, this is another great Cochrane review, and showing that high dose vitamin C can prevent and improve pneumonia of various sources. Why is that? Again, the vitamin C, which I'll review briefly later, is that vitamin C is antiviral and is antioxidant. Okay, and here again a slide showing research showing that the high dose vitamin C shortens the duration of patients on mechanical ventilation, on breathing machine. And high dose vitamin C prevents mitral organ failure, and high dose vitamin C reduces ARDS, which is the lung problems due in severe pneumonia patients in SARS and COVID-19 as well. High dose vitamin C reduces the mortality, and the same thing here. Okay, and high dose vitamin C. This is again old slide, has been used successfully in China and worldwide now too. And I'm pretty sure you have all read about it. Okay, and also high dose vitamin C has been included in the official government recommendations in Shanghai, in Guangdong province in China. Okay, and here are a couple of slides that showing that vitamin C by mouth can prevent colds. Okay, and can reduce the severity and the duration of colds. Same thing here. I'm not going to go over all those. And here again, vitamin C is very safe and is without significant side effects, as reviewed by NIH official document. And here's another one. Okay, and briefly I mentioned here, due to the mechanism of vitamin C is primarily through its direct antiviral effect, which may have to do with the increased hydrogen peroxide of vitamin C upon its oxidation. And also vitamin C is a powerful antioxidant and autoimmune booster. Okay. And vitamin C's effectiveness has been endorsed by, for example, European Food Safety Authority. And here is our recommendation from International Society for Also Molecular Medicine. Again, also molecular medicine directly comes from Dr. Linus Pauling, the two-time Nobel Prize winner, who actually is probably one of the first ones to advocate the precise and high optimal dose of nutrition. His famous quote is, "Nutrition is the medicine of tomorrow." And this, in my view, is still a bit conservative. However, at the ISOM, the International Society of Also Molecular Medicine, which we recommend is vitamin C at least 3,000 milligrams per day in divided doses. If you can't do it for prevention, maybe 2-3 times, and if it's infected, you may increase dosage. And the vitamin D3 at least 2,000 to 5,000 international units a day. Zinc 20 milligrams a day. Magnesium 400 milligrams a day. And this measure, along with a healthy lifestyle, sufficient sleep, and sunshine, and reduce or cut down your unhealthy lifestyle, such as tobacco smoking, alcohol, and these lifestyle. And also, I would like to add a low-carb ketogenic diet will help you to boost your immunity and prevent the COVID-19 and reduce the severity if you catch COVID-19. Ultimately, we believe that like most other viral infections, ultimately it's probably still the so-called group, the herd immunity, or we prefer population immunity, what we call protected population immunity. Basically, is that when a large number of population get exposed to the virus, and we will develop immunity and ultimately stop the viral spreading. But if we leave it alone, that seems like we're not doing anything. That may be a problem of ethics. And anyway, if we increase these, if we add vitamin C, lifestyle, vitamin D3, if we can, lipoic acid, melatonin, glutathione, all these other measures, we'll be able to offer more protection. So we call it protected population immunity. This is probably a better way. And when a safe and effective vaccine is available, we'll of course like to use that as well. However, before that, that's all we have here is these nutrients and healthy lifestyle. In summary, global COVID-19 is far from being under control. Safe and effective vaccines may not be available anytime soon, if it will become available at all, because COVID-19 virus, SARS-CoV-2 virus is an RNA virus. It's very easy to mutate, and that's another problem. And all levels of governments and individuals need to stay alert and take recommended precautions. And the key mechanism of COVID-19 is increased oxidative stress, which is a common and non-specific finding of many clinical conditions, including viral infections, such as SARS, MERS, COVID-19 too. And also, I might add, is many chronic diseases as well. This is a common problem. Okay, so targeting increased oxidative stress is a natural and logical approach. Unfortunately, this is being ignored. Okay, how do we target the increased oxidative stress? Of course, oxidative antioxidants. These are all what, vitamin C, vitamin D, and vitamin E, also vitamin B, all these vitamins, and melatonin, and glutathione, alpha-lipoic acid, fish oil, okay? And ketogenic diet is also antioxidant. All right, so these are the measures we should focus on. Unfortunately, due to various reasons, the key and major medical authorities fail to recognize this, or they're not willing to admit. The severity of COVID-19, as measured by the case fatality rate, as I mentioned earlier, is similar to that of severe influenza, which influenza happens every year. Okay, the worldwide, we may be overreacting to this, and we are probably causing many unnecessary social and economic problems, as we are witnessing right now in the United States. Okay, what we need to do is face this reality. Everybody should calm down, not to make a COVID-19 to be more of a social and economic problem. We're hurting everybody. Nobody's benefiting from this. Okay, and maybe few. And appropriate measures, including those describing the protected population immunity, should be taken by individuals, organizations, governments to bring COVID-19 under control. And hopefully, hopefully we have enough time to learn. We learn from here. We can be also used to prevent future epidemics and pandemics. Unfortunately, I may add that unfortunately, epidemics and pandemics will strike us again, and I'm not so optimistic. And worldwide, we will see this again in the future, and the reaction will be probably more or less the same if we don't take measures. And thank you very much. Like I mentioned here, nutrition is the medicine of tomorrow, by Linus Pauling. And for more information, please visit the websites for International Society for Molecular Medicine. That's also molecular.org, and also isom.ca. And also, I have many videos and talks on at this website. Thank you very much. Bye.